Behind every mission, there's a plan. Behind every plan, there's a soldier, training, leading, and getting the job done. This is the Kentucky National Guard's G3 podcast, where we share the stories, lessons, and leadership that keep our Guard always ready, always there.
Welcome, hello to the G3 podcast, Fix Bayonets. I'm your favorite podcast platoon sergeant, Sergeant B, and we're here to talk about some training and utilize what we have here as the Kentucky Army National Guard. But with today's episode, what we're going to do is talk about some of the training areas and resources that you may or may not know about that your unit, your platoon, your battalion, multiple aspects could utilize to stay more lethal and improve your survivability. It's going to be some topics that we'll talk about of the places of geographical location and the resources where you'll get them at. So with that, we're going to bring in our guest today, and that is Sgt.1st Class Reid Smith. Welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
So what we like to do when we first start off, man, is just let's talk about kind of a little backstory of you.
Oh, gosh.
When and how did you get into the Guard?
Circa 2011.
Nice.
Just had a buddy that he was like, hey, my unit's deploying in about a year and a half. And I was like, you know what, let's I've always wanted to.
Okay, all right.
Let's go. So
So you was interested in the military?
Always had it, but my dad was actually in the Kentucky National Guard.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, you know, I'd always kind of had been like on the outskirts of something I wanted to do. And then that was the tipping point.
That's kind of the push.
Yeah, that made me do it. So, 2011, joined 149th Vertical Construction Company out of Olive Hill. Joined there, basic AIT, did a short stint at ADOS, and then boom, mobilized right off the rip.
Not even too long being in.
No.
What was you doing for ADOS?
So ADOS, I was helping there,
kind
just
of
pre-mo prep
and stuff. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man, that was quick then.
Yeah.
What was the MOS?
So it started out as a 12 whiskey.
Okay.
That's what I got in as, in that carpentry masonry specialist, which I kind of had growing up, like in Eastern Kentucky, everybody's kind of hands-on. You know, if you can't buy it, you do it yourself.
Yeah, I like that attitude.
So, grew up kind of around rough construction, my whole life. So, and that's one of the MOSs they had available, in that unit. And it wouldn't have necessarily, in retrospect, I think hindsight's 2020, everybody would have chose something different. But it was a great choice, and it kind of set me on my path. But, 12 whiskey, and then that consolidates into 12 hotel, once you get above that E5 level. So that's where I started, there.
So you brought up a good point on kind of what you were already kind of doing, and then you joined the military. I think some soldiers, that's how they joined. Right. If that MOS is kind of available, like, I'd do something like this, and they get in doing that. So with your AIT and stuff, was it the stuff you already kind of knew because you're already kind of hands-on and doing that stuff?
Yeah, a lot of it, but, more formal, more structured. My AIT was in Gulfport, Mississippi. It's a naval station, so you have CBs, you have the Air Force guys, Red Horse guys there, all three components going through or branches doing it together. And they laid it out really well as far as just basic framing and masonry and working on that. But I already had a good background in it, but it was just more structured, and it's taught very well.
That's awesome.
So I really good curriculum when you go through there.
So you said that MOS filters into a
12 hotel. So
okay.
Construction
at E5
at E5 and above. So construction supervisor. Which 12 Juliet, 12 Kilo, and 12 Romeo. So like your plumbers and your electricians, those all roll into hotel as well.
I got you.
So once you get to that NCO level, and you're actually more of a foreman, kind of supervising, a little bit of quality control and assurance at that point.
With that, I guess because I've always thought about like being with the engineers and stuff like that is, I mean, of course, y'all do the building and do a lot of technical stuff, it seems like, but almost like, hell, I couldn't do that. I can't build a house. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I always thought. So do you have soldiers like that this is like their first time they've touched, doing carpentry or they're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. You will have soldiers, taking advantage of the benefits that the Guard offers, right? So, we have recruiters out there in those local communities, and we're offering big things like tuition assistance.
Right.
You know, if these soldiers want to go to school, you know, and that's their end goal, but they want to drill close to home, you know, and the specific MOS may not mean a lot to them at that point in time. Obviously, we're going to give them a skill that they can develop and maybe pursue another path eventually. Yeah. But, you know, if they're going after those other benefits and incentives we offer in our organization, it's really just kind of a moot point as far as what MOS they're going to pick. And then, you know, I had guys in AIT that just alongside me that just had never touched, you know, a hammer in their life. You know, and, you know, but they developed them, you know, and it you know, I think everybody, once we walked out of there, you know, they could frame a
pretty
wall.
confident, right? And with that coming back home, I mean, outside of being, you know, a part-time soldier, it seems like that's life skills or something potential for other job, you know, opportunities, because it's very something relatable with the civilian life. So
absolutely, you know, and being a career-long engineer, with even all my other MOSs, you know, that specifically to the engineer community, most of our skills are just so marketable outside of the military. So like you can come in and 12 Novembers, heavy equipment operators, you can walk into a great civilian career outside of the military after that. So yeah, it is a lifelong skill set that they develop in the engineers.
With you said you got in, you did some ADOS on that pre-mob, and then you went to Afghanistan.
Afghanistan, yeah.
That was with the 149th?
It was with the 149th. Afghanistan, went over there, you know, about the first half of the deployment, they kind of broke our company up as far as, you know, who was doing what. But my specific platoon, just about the first half of that deployment was convoy security and protection. So we were going with, you know, log packs and essentially closing out Sharana. So we're running convoys back and forth between Bagram and Sharana, just kind of bringing everything back before they handed it over to the A&A. So, and we were, you know, so I was in a gun truck, Max Pro, mine roller, just living the dream.
Living the dream, man.
You know, coming from that, you know, 12 whiskey, you know, I thought I'd be building stuff first, but and I'll step back a little bit. So all of the 201st, you know, prior to that, had been all 12 Bravos, combat engineers across the board, and then they had kind of gone through a reorg. So, you know, that entire battalion had deployed in 2008 as a battalion, all 12 Bravos, all doing, you know, RCP missions. So the majority of the legacy members in the 149th had reclassed to construction MOSs. So we had a lot of RCP knowledge. We had a lot of great experience in our platoon. You know, shout out to my platoon sergeant, Sergeant Weiss. Really, you know, was developmental. You know, he was a textbook platoon sergeant. You know, and really held us together. But because of that, I think we were kind of entrusted to kind of step outside of that construction MOS for that mobilization, and our commander, you know, kind of push for that mission for us, and we got to do that convoy security and go out.
And that's
do
great.
Some of the real
bringing
stuff.
up the platoon sergeant. Was there a big training events like before you went, or TTPs that you learned along the way that you remember stood out? And
you know, and seeing some of it, you know, and having been with the 201st, which, you know, they're going out the door, you know, here very soon. But they, you know, kind of helping with that at the battalion level and seeing those USTs, you know, those mandatory training tasks. You know, it's a lot of the same stuff. You know, we've obviously shifted away from COIN and go more towards LISCO, but a lot of that same stuff. But the big things that stood out, you know, at the time, obviously, is, you know, counter IED was the big thing at the time, and just going through that training real in depth, you know. So, you know, we stepped off the plane in country, and, you know, your head's already on a swivel, and you're just kind of, you know, doing your 5s and 25s.
But that was all because of that training.
Yeah,
you know,
it was fantastic. And specifically to Kentucky, and I'm glad you kind of guided us along that path, but the CQM, the close quarters marksmanship, that was huge. You know, that's not, you know, a federally mandated, you know, training requirement, but that was something at the time Kentucky required soldiers to go through with CQM, And I just remember being down at Wendell H.
Right,
Ford,
yes.
little
Yes.
bit of foreshadowing here, but
Yeah.
being down at Wendell H. Ford and going through CQM with legacy guys like Mr. Higginbottom out there, and just learning those fundamentals of marksmanship, and then kind of elevating that level
Absolutely.
of proficiency there, and getting a lot of range time to become more proficient, feel more confident in myself
Absolutely.
and my peers,
Absolutely.
for what we were getting ready to go
Yeah.
do. So.
And it's that PTAE time frame. It was a big deal.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of
PTAE
lethal
was
training that you were
huge.
doing.
Absolutely.
And I
Absolutely.
remember, going down there and helping work it and stuff like
Yeah.
that, and seeing units come through. And that CQM, that was a big one.
Oh,
I mean, that was a big one, putting them on the range and
Absolutely.
inside the shoot houses and stuff. That's cool. Very cool.
It was great. It was great. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. it's a good
So
time.
you come back. Let's talk about a little bit after that. How did you get into kind of your full-time career, where you're at now? But let's start to the beginning.
So come back, start going back to school. So prior to deploying, I come from a family of teachers, educators, mother-in-law.
Yeah.
My father's a college professor, but
you got in trouble
family
all the time,
of
didn't you?
Oh yeah, all the time, all the time. But
Kind of like the preacher's kid.
but
We know how
I
this
was
works
kind
out.
of tracking that way.
Okay.
I originally started out from undergrad as engineering, go figure. But I had switched over to education, just kind of became a little passionate about it. And I was picking up substitute teaching jobs. So when I came back from that deployment, I went back to teaching again. So I had done a year-long substitute teaching gig there in Ashland. And while I was there, also going back to school, trying to finish my degree at the time, I get a call from my readiness NCO, Sergeant Thomas, and he was like, "Hey, do you want to go to 12 Tango to reclass?" And I was like, what is a 12 Tango?
Yeah.
He was like, "It's a technical engineer." And I was like, "Okay, what do they do?" Well, survey, design, materials testing. And I'm taking a long roundabout way getting to the point here, but so go to 12 Tango reclass up at Devil's Lake, come back, had that MOS, and then I lateral transferred to HHC 201st in Ashland.
Yeah.
As a 12 Tango. While I'm there, my new readiness NCO, shout out Sgt.1st Class Griffith, Jesse Griffith. He calls me. He was like, "Hey, new guy, do you want to come in? We've got 2 months of ADOS orders." And so I come in. I'm doing ADOS orders with them. They're 201st in Ashland. And then the S1 NCO, Sgt.1st Class Hovis, I was kind of helping out a little bit there. And he's like, "I really like your stuff. We've got a temp tech position in the Deers office. Would you be interested in doing something a little more long term in the Deers office here?" So that's where I kind of got my foot in the door. Was as a Deers operator there in Ashland. Just kind of preach this to all my soldiers and any soldiers I cross paths with, is if you just work hard and you care, you're going to stand out. And that's what I was trying to do at the time, and it worked.
And it pays off.
And I got that foot in the door and did that for about a year as a Deers technician. And then, every time I would see an AGR advertisement,
You're going for it.
I'm going for it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get into it, without ever really having aspirations to be an AGR.
Yeah.
I was kind of focused on trying to, finish my undergraduate and be a teacher and kind of do the family trade. And, so I'm trying to do that. But then, this opportunity just kind of jumps out.
Yeah.
And I had some really great mentors.
That's
like
great.
Sergeant Hovis and Sergeant Griffith. They're like, "Hey, this can be a very lucrative career path, in Eastern Kentucky,
Yeah.
It's not something a lot of young soldiers think about. So I did, and then, after boarding a couple times, hired on as the training NCO there at HHC 201st in Ashland, and that's where it all started. So that was the beginning.
And that's what we try to, and I'm doing a little plug for like the ADOS / technician, AGR, all these programs, like these soldiers. You just never know, because I was the same way. Never knew this was kind of going to be the path I was going to take, but if you're a hard worker and just really selling the benefits of the Guard, is if you need a career path, start putting in for some of these jobs, because you never know the ride you're about to be on and where you're going to end up.
Exactly.
You know, and the people you meet, it's fantastic, and the hard times, the good times, every bit of it, you know, just kind of really, you know, shaping you. So, so you know, from training, I'm sure you went to readiness at one point, and then
that was the next step. So about 4 or 5 years later, having been the training NCO there for a while, which, you know, and any of my fellow AGRs that have worked, you know, at the battalion level at an HHC specifically or an HHD, and it only gets a little more daunting the higher you go up in echelon, whether, you know, battalion's not is difficult. Brigade gets harder, and I really feel for the guys at Joint Force Headquarters, but or even at the GTC itself, they're incredible. But yeah, so 4 or 5 years doing that, you know, being around the flagpole and learning a lot, and kind of not only seeing how things ran at a company level, but kind of being in the periphery of the battalion level and seeing what was going on there at a higher level. Was able to develop really well. Sergeant Osborne was my readiness NCO that I worked under as a training NCO, and he really allowed me to kind of take stride and kind of step into my own, and started cross-training me on readiness NCO duties. So by the second half of my tenure as a training NCO, I had already, you know, developed readiness NCO skill sets, because he gave me that opportunity. You know, he kind of shared the workload. Yeah. So then I got the offer to 577 Sapper Company in Prestonsburg. And then that's when I became a readiness NCO.
And readiness, and then ended up at GTC?
Ended up at GTC. So readiness NCO, there at the Sapper Company for 4 years. Then lateral back to HHC as the readiness NCO. Just they were getting ready to mobilize. I wanted to kind of get in on that action, but then I got the offer for the ops position at the GTC to be the range operations NCOIC, and here I am today.
And here you are,
5 months later.
5 months later. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's obviously what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
And with all that background, though, I think that's, you know, a good thing, the steps you took and just that knowledge base, because you know how these units need to come in and do things and stuff like that. So, and having, you know, all those tools in your toolbox, and then going there, and we're going to basically broadcast what we got to offer, right?
And that's the whole reason I'm glad you all invited me.
Here we go. So let's do this. We're going to go on a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll kind of jump into wherever you kind of want to dive into first, and we'll tell the troops out there what you got to offer. Okay. Sound good?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we'll be back. Welcome back to the G3P Fix Bayonets. I have Sgt.1st Class Reid Smith with me, the senior ops from GTC, and we're getting ready to jump into some of the training areas and resources that you can use. But first, we got to give our shout out, as we always do. I'm going to kind of kick it back. Everybody likes nostalgic type of stuff, so we see these we see these young kids wearing Jinko jeans now, Carhartt, shit we used to wear back in the day. You know what I mean?
Coming back around.
If they can do it on the civilian side, we're going to do it on the Army side. So everybody thinks with their fleece cap they got, they're so cool, but I mean, check this out. This is what men and women wore in '96. This is the fleece cap right here. So you think, oh, but it looks like a regular PC. No, let me show you something. Let me show you something.
Hold on.
I'm ready to kill now. Boom! Look at that. Covers the ears. Good material. Soft on the ears. Hard in the heart. We're ready to get it. I mean, you can't beat that.
We got to bring it back.
You got to bring it back.
We got to bring it back.
I know it's probably not in the regs back then, but you got to flip so you can see better.
That's the look, too.
That's the look.
You got to be able to get down that sight picture, get to that optic on that weapon system.
No better than this. This is the true fleece cap. Bring it back. Come on, Johnny Johnson up there at CIF. Let's do this. Anyways, welcome back. Here we go. Right. So we've talked about kind of your past history, Sergeant Smith.
Probably too much.
No, it's all good. We got to get the audience to know you. But one thing I didn't bring up is you just received an award.
Oh,
yeah. You didn't know I knew about this.
No, I did not.
Sturgis Medal? Am I saying it right?
That's correct.
Tell me just a little bit about it real quick before we jump in. No, we got to hear. This is amazing.
Lieutenant General Sturgis Medal. It's typically awarded annually, one to each component, National Guard, Reserve, and active duty. For just significant contributions in the engineering community, essentially.
So that's one active soldier, one reserve soldier.
Nationally,
so 3 soldiers every year out of the whole. Okay.
Out of the entire engineering regiment. Okay. Yeah. So.
And that's great. And you got it this past year?
Yeah, 2025
okay.
for National Guard component. Just got back from Portland last week. They had, the Society of American Military Engineers, SAME, holds a joint engineer training conference, JETC, annually. And this year they awarded those awards during that convention. So went up there to Portland to their convention center for that conference. And aside from just being able to get that award, because I've talked about myself enough at this point, but it was a great networking opportunity. So I'm getting to meet engineers from the civilian side, the interface with the military. I'm getting to meet, Air Force and Navy engineers. I'm getting to meet, Compo 1 and 3 engineers and kind of network and collaborate. And it kind of ties into my position now. I'm always going to hold up that red flag with castle on it. But as the GTC guy, I'm like, oh, you all are trying to do this. You're in Illinois. We're just down the road.
Yeah.
Just come to Wendell H. Ford.
Right.
If you're trying to execute some type of training and you're having difficulty where you're at,
come check us out.
Come check us out.
That's awesome.
Because we are here to try to support whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
We're not. We have some processes.
Yeah.
But we're going to help you navigate those so you can do what you want to do at our installation here. So I kind of leveraged that.
That's
there.
Awesome.
I was like,
Selling
yes,
it.
give me the medal, but let me talk to you about something real quick.
I mean, that's because some soldiers, they might not even know. I mean, it ain't just the Kentucky Guard that uses Wendell H. Ford. You know what I mean? Your active components been there to train. I mean, they bring other entities in to train, and y'all host that. So
that's a good talking point too. It's not just Kentucky National Guard. We see a lot of our Compo 1 units come through, especially with Campbell. Just down the road from us. So we see a lot of Compo 1, we see a lot of Compo 3 reserve units come through, but it's not just military organizations coming through there. We've got a great partnership with KSP. They come through and do a lot of things with us. We have a lot of local law enforcement agencies that come through and do some training out there. United States Forest Service comes out and does training. They were just here a couple weeks ago. So we have a lot of external organizations that come to Wendell H. Ford because we have so much to offer. And the flip side of that, not just that we're getting these units to come through and they can do what they want to do. I'm kind of always looking at it from, our organization's perspective.
Yeah.
Well, how's the 101st doing this? How are they attacking LISCO? Down to that 10, 20 level task. They're engaging in CUAS. They're engaging in trench warfare. How are they doing it? How are they doing their fighting positions? So we try to get out there, even as the range operations personnel, and see how our civilian partners are doing things, and then kind of observing that, AARing it, and then kind of pushing that back to our higher leadership so that they can disseminate that across the state. And that way it kind of keeps us cutting edge with what are our partners doing?
Right.
What is the Compo 1 doing? How can we put that into our training and push that down to our organization? So, Wendell, the GTC is we're kind of a sponge out there. We're getting this information. We're providing opportunities, but we're also leveraging
from both
that to kind of give something back to our organization. So that's why it is so important.
And that's great because it's like you said, it's kind of revamping everything. It keeps everything fresh, and those TTPs we always talk about for training and stuff. They ain't always just set in stone. Some things need to be revamped and looked at. So learning it from other components that's a big deal.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's do this. Let's talk about what y'all have to offer as far as let's just start with training areas. What are we looking at as far as Whipper Tech or Disney or just?
So I think everybody comes down to Wendell H. Ford, and they see just the tip of the iceberg every time they're down there. We have so much to offer. They're those typical TA 1 and 2. That's where when units come down to do their STXs. That's typically where you see them around the call sites, around the BIV sites, right? So we have several BIV sites. Bravo, through Hotel, Don't ask about alpha. It's not there. There's plans to get a Biv Alpha out there.
We'll tell the young privates to go find it.
Yeah, that's right along with the exhaust sample. Yeah, So a lot of training areas. So when you look at that installation map, right, and you see all those training areas, and you see something on the backside of the SDZ. And you're like, well, can we go there? Yeah, absolutely. But everything's METTC, right? So as long as there's no other hot ranges, you can go from 7 to 9 to 3
and actually run those convoys.
Absolutely.
Yes, I understand what you're saying.
We call it the SDZ route that goes around the impact area, essentially on the backside of the ARF, the automated rifle range. But So it's 8 miles. That's 8 miles on the installation that is navigable for vehicles. So if you're trying to do some sort of convoy or mounted operation, we've got the interior road network to support that. But, I'll talk in circles all day. I do want to hit mostly, what's new, what's latest and greatest coming down to the GTC.
Well, you brought up a good point earlier. So the war was big IEDs, right? Now we've really started to focus on one of our props here. Is this UAS, and that's been a big program that's came on. So
absolutely.
So let's hear what's the new stuff we need to focus on here.
That ties into it certainly. So we do have kind of standing up a counter UAS or SUAS course there. It's adjacent to the LSA, previously known as the call site. So that near the LSA, we have a CUAS, and then we also will have, we're bringing in clay throwers near the 1025 range so that we can additionally, or the 203 range, to also exercise some kinetic options for defeating drones, as they're colloquially known. But so we're really leaning into that. We're looking at what's going on in the current warfighter domain and trying to create opportunities and infrastructures for soldiers to get the training they need to be prepared for that. So again, the drone courses we're standing up down there, and aside from just the geographic space and ranges we're setting aside and standing up for that, we also have training aids available for that as well. So this specific prop we have here is one of our Parrot Anafis. These are part of our training aids package at Wendell H. Ford. That once you have a qualified drone operator within your formation, you'll be able to reach out to Lieutenant Wilson, our TADS manager at Wendell H. Ford, and coordinate that as part of your request. If you have that qualified operator, you can draw this drone and you can use that in your training, whatever you want it to be, and implement that. And these are great resources to have. IR cameras, so you get that thermal imagery on there. There's so much functionality as far as being able to just follow, like it'll identify a specific vehicle or individual, and it can track them and follow them.
That's wild.
Being able to change the different types of hot, cold on the IR, the thermal camera itself. Great flight time, and if you really want to know more about this resource and really the deep dive, Major Peterson's really been a big driving effort behind that. Him, along with Sgt.1st Class Lewis here at the G3.
Shout out to Lewis.
Getting that knowledge base so that we can prepare our organization to use this, implement it, and understand it. So they've really been the hard charters.
Is that more getting, and if you're just listening, we're talking about this drone that we have sitting in front of us. It's wicked looking, obviously, but so for them to operate that, do they get, let's just talk about that part real quick, with Sergeant Lewis or Major Peterson to kind of get licensed, I guess you'd say, as far as being
essentially, and I don't want to get too far outside of my lane here on that, but Sergeant 1st Class Lewis is the state master trainer. He's gone to the course, and he can train trainers, essentially, and, just look at those state admin fragmentary orders that are going to be coming out.
They're
they're going to be putting on that course,
Right.
and we're going to be training soldiers so that they can bring their soldiers in, become operators, and then be able to access this training aid that's coming very, very soon.
Right.
Just be on the lookout for it so you can use that. In the meantime, until you have qualified operators, we do have Major Peterson there at Range Operations. He's a qualified operator there on the site. And he is more than happy to assist units in their training.
And that's great.
To help them utilize these resources. We also have a Skydio X10, I believe, airframe. It's a larger drone, more flight time, better imagery, crisper camera. Can do a lot of the same things, just a little bit better.
Right.
And he can, and that's typically what he'll use to exercise and support unit training.
And that's one of the biggest training aids to me right now. We all know the drones, the counter UAS and UAS it's big, and especially with LISCO right now, you see it all the time. So to me, it's just like, once again, you have 8 miles of road to do your convoys on.
Again, that's just one route as we slice it. You know, you can easily get, double digit,
it's right on the installation.
Right,
don't have to go out the gate. And then why not add in sometimes? Call about the UAS, right? See about setting those resources up. That way you got the convoy and you can have the counter UAS going at the same time.
Absolutely. Yeah, shout out to the 206, as a 201st guy, as much as it pains me, shout out to the 206 Engineer Battalion. They really leaned in early on a lot of the drone, SUAS stuff, and integrating that into their training. They've got a really good team there and push that really hard. So then we saw a lot of other units. And again, I'm talking through my lens as I saw things at the time. So, if there's some MPs or chem or artillery soldiers out there that were also leaning in early, this is what I'm seeing from my foxhole.
No, you're totally getting blamed. You're totally getting blamed.
So great resource to use that and to integrate that in the training. And we're here to support that. So just ask.
There you go. See, and a lot of times that's all it is. It's just asking.
Aside from the drone stuff, I think the biggest, hottest item that we're pushing right now, it's on the tip of everybody's tongue, is the MPMG, the multi-purpose machine gun range that we're getting. It's nearing completion.
I was going to say it's getting close.
Getting real close.
Okay.
So it should be complete within this FY. I'm not going to give hard dates.
Don't do that. Yeah.
But it should be complete this FY. So
what systems? What systems can we use on this range now?
Everything. So Mark 19, M2, M240 Bravo, and M249. So it's going to be a 5-lane range. The 2 outside lanes, so lane 1 and 5, will only support M249 and M240 Bravo. Okay. But the 3 center lanes can support those 2 along with Mark 19. No HE rounds, obviously. Right. But you can do Mark 19 qualification and M2 qualification. This is not a familiarization range. That's kind of been kind of a misunderstanding. But this is, you can conduct your crew serve weapons qualification on this range. It can also support, some sniper training. Mm-hmm. We can execute that, and I'll kind of go off on that tangent later if we have time. But yeah, that's the big name of the game. It's right there, adjacent to the 1025 range, where you've kind of developed a con-op essentially as far as, hey, how do you come to Wendell H. Ford and execute cruiser weapons qualification in the most efficient manner possible with this range? And that's going to change over time as we get more reps and units coming through there, and we get takeaways from that. Mm-hmm. But essentially, you do your paster, target fire there on the 1025, and you can transition over to the MPMG. They're right there, and that unnamed Biv Alpha, we're looking to put that in right there behind it, so you can come out, set up shop. Yeah,
it's right there.
Right there behind the range, execute your cruiser weapons qualification. You got the 203 range right there beside it as well, if you want to integrate that individual system into your cruiser weapons. I've seen battalions do that. So, that's our biggest thing that we're leaning into and looking for. And it's an automated range. We're going to be a little slower getting the automated targetry in there. We're going to have, static targetry initially, subject to change.
Yeah.
But the automated targetry is coming.
That's awesome.
So it is going to be an automated range.
That's
so
awesome.
That's something, instead of having to go to Atterbury
Right.
or, Fort Campbell or Fort Knox, I think everybody in the Kentucky Guard has a deep familiarization with Hines Range.
Yeah, Hines Range, baby.
Come on down.
That was the last thing I did before I moved up here, is running one of those things. So
come on down to Wendell H. Fort.
Yeah.
We've got a MPMG. It's going to be out there in Rifmus very soon to start locking that into training plans. So start looking at that.
Yeah, that's definitely been a talking point.
Biggest thing that we're trying to get out there and push and get units to know about. So,
and because it's been done multiple times, especially for us when I was with the 203rd FSC, was we would come train there, but we still had to shoot our platform gunnery tables and stuff like
Absolutely.
that. So half of the teams would end up getting bussed, to Camp Atterbury or we go to Campbell or something like that. But to kind of have that one-stop shop now,
absolutely,
that's going to be great.
And big, safety measure too with that range, because we are kind of working in the confounds of the space, the real estate we have there with our PSDZ that's established for the MPMG. You have to use the T&O when you're using those weapon systems, whether it's on the tripod or even if it's pintle mounted on the truck and they're pulling up to fire from the vehicle. Has to use
can't go free, baby.
No free gunning, because that's going to violate that STZ, and then we will decertify your OICR.
Yes.
So very crucial, and we're going to be keeping a close eye on it, obviously in the beginning, but. If we want this to be a viable, long-lasting thing for the organization, everybody's got to be a caretaker and custodian to make sure we do it. But it's there and it's coming, and we're excited for units to come down and
that'd be great.
Utilize it. So
will the SARTS team be involved in any of that?
I can only imagine. They're fantastic.
Right.
Having been at the GTC and integrating with them, some we have some wonderful SMEs out there, and then even Major Peterson coming from SARTS too, and having that in his background, they're going to be involved and definitely available. They're a resource that can be requested. So when a unit is coming down to do their crew serve weapons qualification, request the SARTS team.
Huge.
They'll be there. They'll help you out.
I think that's one of the things that people, to me, doesn't utilize a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's just that they don't want to. I think it's just the knowledge base of it. And, those are people out there that will help you. They're skilled shooters. Absolutely. They're good with marksmen. And if you have we all have them, and you're going to have some of those stragglers or whatever that just really need those reps or those fundamentals. And that team will come out there and just assist.
And I would recommend engaging even on the front end before you're even trying to conduct the qualification event. When you're doing those tables 1 and 3, and you're trying to do like your BMI, PMI, essentially, get the SARTS team out there. That's where you're really going to make your money, is reteaching some of those fundamentals on the front end, and not even just like to the individual shooter. If you're a unit that you feel like you struggle with conducting a range, whether it's crew serve, individual, holler at the SARTS guys, holler at range operations. Like, we've got a lot of experience on how to efficiently and effectively run a range.
It's just funny hearing that, because I don't even think about that.
You don't think so about much time. Right. If you don't have a good administrative crew running a range, you lose so much time in your training schedule.
Yes.
Reach out to us on the front end. Range operations and SARTS. We will help you, kind of give you that litmus test. Is this going to be effective? Here's our lessons learned. Here's what works. Here's how you're going to get the most fires through with enough time. Holler at us. We're here to help.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for.
And that's the main thing I think people got to keep in mind is, and I've always had great experiences with, range ops and stuff on different installations, but they're here to help. I think it's something we always tend to forget. It ain't, we're here to, to hound on you. We're here to help you conduct training safely, get the, best bang for your buck with your time and stuff like that. So just reaching out like that. Like I said, I just never thought about the SARTS even on the front end of it, helping somewhat conduct stuff. So,
well, it's that customer service, aspect. And I don't want to sit here and talk about my own virtues so much, because again, I'm 5 months into my tenure at the GTC.
Yeah.
I'm coming into an organization with my predecessor, First Sergeant Ole Schaefer, that's here at the G3 now, and then people like Major Peterson and Mrs. Varney, our RIFMIS coordinator, that have really, at the time, Colonel Simpson, who was the bomb commander. they really, over the past 3 to 5 years, really reinforced our customer service as far as, we don't want you to come down here and engage with the GTC, and it's just a very difficult bureaucratic process. We don't want to make your training difficult. And I think units are starting to see that again. Like over the past 3 to 5 years, we've really kind of, I'm not going to say remove the red tape, but we're out there with the scissors helping you cut it too. Like we're helping you get through that so you can execute your training. We're trying to be approachable and make that happen. So I'm kind of coming in on the back end of a product and organization that, like I said, First Sergeant Olshafer, Major Peterson have really made so much more accessible and user friendly. So shout out to them for really making it easy and available to come to the GTC and train. But they've done great things, and even talking about the new things we have, like the MPMG. I wasn't involved in the planning of that process. Major Peterson has been, like for the past decade, like pushing and working on that. So I'm singing the praises of it right now. But
you're the man,
I'm just
Smith.
the guy getting to see them cross the finish line. They're the ones that put in the hard work. Colonel Simpson and Major Peterson and them just really. First Sergeant Olshafer, the trench that we have out there at Wendell H. Ford now, which really lines in with that LISCO. First Sergeant Olshafer, big effort behind that. And, obviously we can't make any of this happen without people at, FMO and facilities like helping us, make that happen. But these are the people that have made it happen. I'm just here like talking about it right now.
You're going to be the guy. You're going to be the guy.
I want to be. I'm trying to be. So, and I've got big shoes to fill. But they've made it a great installation. But that's a big tangent there on the MPG.
No, it's great.
And everything.
Well, and that's because a lot of people know that it's Wendell H. Ford, right? A lot of people go there, and it's for multiple things on top of that. You might go down there just to perform your PHA, but
absolutely.
That place is really utilized, and it's a big training ground for us. But let's do this. We're going to take a quick break. But when we come back, I want to talk about some of the other places like Disney and Hidden Valley.
Absolutely.
Because there's things that I don't even know, and just what other stuff that those little hidden secrets. So we come back, we'll touch topics on it, and we'll go from there. All right. Welcome back. I was not staring in the right spot, Crane. You're like, I'm already going to kill him. I'm going to kill him.
5, 4, 3, 2.
All right, here we go. Hold on. Time out. All right, here we go. This is definitely blooper reel. Welcome back to the G3P. I'm Sergeant B. We have Sergeant Smith here from the GTC. You've heard some of the things that's been upgraded at Wendell H4 are coming soon. Everybody obviously is excited about, and some of the upscale LISCO training that you can do. So, but let's go into some other training places that you can go. I've always been to Disney. There's like Hidden Valley. I did not know about Hidden Valley.
And that's wild
I didn't.
to me.
Sergeant Major Stoller had brought it up. She was like, what? And I was like, no, I didn't know about this place.
So that's the big three, right, that we have as the Garrison Training Command is Wendell H. Ford. That's the gold star of the Western Kentucky, but Disney Training Center. And I kind of think about them as large, medium, and small.
Okay.
So Disney's the medium, right? Okay. Disney Training Center, it has a little more infrastructure, not nearly as much as Wendell H. Ford, but there's the PT track there. There are barracks that you can stay in there, the case band buildings. There's EST trainers there. There's a brand new mount site. Thank you, Colonel Staley, for helping us get that from your FMO position. That mount site there at Disney is probably a little nicer, more upscale than anything that we have at Wendell H. Ford. Yeah. So if you're trying to do any urban ops training, that Disney's the place to go there. Not to mention, just the raw acreage it has to go execute just any type of STX that you want at the company level. So that's really Disney.
Was that mountain site, is it something new, or is it?
It is newer. Okay. Certainly within, the past 5 years or so, it's a newer piece of infrastructure we have there. But Disney's fantastic. Yeah. coming from Eastern Kentucky and units in Eastern Kentucky, we leveraged Disney and Hidden Valley quite a bit because they were a little closer as the road goes than getting down to Wendell H. Ford. So kind of integrating more with units in Central and Western Kentucky and kind of discovering that there wasn't a big knowledge base out there, and knowing of Hidden Valley.
Right.
I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
That was literally my very first IDT after AIT was at Hidden Valley.
Yeah.
Yeah. So talked about Disney a little bit there. Hidden Valley is the small.
Okay.
Not necessarily as far as acreage goes. Before I forget, there's a wonderful land nav course at Disney too.
Okay.
It's a great land nav course at Disney. But Hidden Valley, focus.
ADHD.
Hidden Valley is just that raw oyster. You know, there's not really an infrastructure. You're bivouacking if you're going to Hidden Valley. But if you're trying to really engage in some self-reliance and establish, just a bare bones CP, bivouac, do some small unit stuff, that's the place to do it. It's just, you can go out there and really get after your training without anybody impeding on you. And again, it doesn't get utilized as much as we'd like to see it utilized.
Right.
So, get out there.
No ranges.
There's no ranges, no live fire ranges, but we do have something new coming. So this year, actually here very shortly, our engineer section from the GTC is going to be putting in a driver's training course out there, kind of comparable to some things you've seen at Campbell as far as a driver's training course. And that's, a predicated rough terrain route essentially with some like actual finite obstacles that they have to navigate in these vehicles, and that really builds some confidence. Yeah. This isn't your driver's training program.
Drive the loop.
Yeah,
right.
It's not those, you've got to make this many left turns and traffic lights and railway crossings. It is meant to be like difficult terrain, so that how do you deal with not getting high centered? How do you do like a wire crossing or something like that? That is what we're putting in down there. So if you're really trying to build some confidence in your operators as a commander, that's going to be the place to go.
Right there.
Get that stood up, and that'll be another thing that you'll see in RIFMIS as an access to requests. So,
and that's what I thought was interesting, because when I was the readiness NCO, I was a distro platoon sergeant at the FSC. I was like, man, if I knew about that, and then obviously I'll take the hit on that, but I could took you take platoon size element or anything out there. You utilize your tents, go out there and survive a little bit here, but you can do your the resupply missions, take all your vehicles, you can do your drivers. To me it was like, I didn't know about this. That's crazy,
and my perspective on it too is, why not use all three?
Yeah,
right?
Try something new.
If you're an Eastern Kentucky unit or you're a Western Kentucky unit, we literally have 3 training sites scattered, in this big, long triangle throughout the state. So if you're a log element or you're a vehicle element, exercise some convoy operations. Or if you're looking at like a LISCO stylized exercise and you're looking at like real world large scale phase lines where they're having to travel like 100 miles or so, you can do that with our training sites in Kentucky. Set up your main CP at Wendell H. Ford, and then as you push forward, go down to Disney, go down to Hidden Valley, and then have them set up like a patrol base, transition from a mounted operation to a dismounted operation once you get there. So utilize all 3 and kind of, and I'll get off on this tangent a little bit as time allows. I think as kids, who didn't have that tub of Army soldiers, right? That little green tub of Army men that you played with. And what did it come with? It came with some tanks and maybe some little sandbags and some barbed wire. Maybe had that plastic map that you could unroll, and then like you had maybe like a little marshalling area in your battlefield. That's what the training site is. That's what we're giving you. Like, you've got the Army men, right? You've got those soldiers. We've got the little plastic map, and we have some predetermined infrastructure, ranges, and training areas that you can use. But it's really up to these commanders and their training plans, and then how are they nesting that with their METs, and then their senior echelons training, and like whatever that commander's intent is. You have that, but the world's your oyster. How are you going to come in and just rinse and repeat the same thing that you've been doing year in, year out? Hey, that's the easy button. We go out here, we do this. We're giving you this blank slate with these resources. Come up with your plan, and whatever that is, you can arrange those little soldiers on that map however you want. You can move those sandbags however you want. You can put that barbed wire wherever you want to put it. We have it there for you.
Yeah.
It's just you have to use that imagination,
that
rigor. Look at what's happening, today in the global conflicts that we see. Study that, become a student of it, and implement that in your training plan. We have the resources and the infrastructure here to do it. This blank slate, you've got to be creative, imaginative. How are you injecting rigor into your training, giving those soldiers the commercial for what they want to do? And that's what the benefit of having the GTC here in Kentucky is we're not going to stop you. Like, we're going to make sure you do it safely.
Yeah.
We're going to give you the resources to do it and the land to do it. But it's your plan.
It's your world, baby.
If you want to dig a fighting position, well, just tell us where you want to dig it, and we'll go through the dig permit process with you and walk you through it step by step. If you want to do that, you can do it. Like, it's not that restrictive. If you have an idea, just bring it to us, and we will help it become a reality for you as a commander, an ops NCO. If you're trying to get after something, we will help you execute it. That's the whole goal.
I mean, it's so easy. Just talking about it, it's so easy. You just got to put in a little bit of the work,
Absolutely.
and gosh dang, I want to play with damn Army man now. I'm about to get my shit out of the closet.
Bucket out in the truck. I was ready.
But, all right, so we've covered some of the three training areas that you have, and so just please reach out and utilize it. I mean, just utilize it, because there's so much you can do with it. And But so let's kind of go back to some of our props. This is the best green silhouette. Where the hell are these at when I'm qualifying?
What are you talking about?
Oh, I'm breaking stuff.
All of our targets
Look at this. This is like a damn Ninja Turtle. Look at that.
Fresh targets.
Looking fits. I think it's amazing. That is fresh. Yeah. 40 out of 40, baby. Every time.
That's everybody's favorite, 50-meter left and right there.
Yeah, that is the best target to shoot at. That's for damn sure. But,
those are the good
So we got some props here, and we've already talked about, we have the drone setting out. Which once again, I don't even want to touch it because it looks expensive, but very stealthy and looks cool as hell. But tell me about what you got over here. This green.
Oh, the green stuff.
Yeah, what we got?
So range operations, we also have an industrial grade IDEX 22 3D printer. And the intent behind that and the purpose is training aid development and helping support units. So again, if you don't have that in your bucket of Army men, we can help you make it.
Right, and that's crazy.
Obviously within limitations, time is a factor, right? Like, we're going to need some lead time to crank something out. And obviously exercise TASC, exercise TADS to see if we already have something that'll support your needs. But, if you need something, we can make it for you.
That's cool.
If it makes sense.
Yeah, use some innovation. So, you know what I mean? The innovation programs they have, but like, what if you can't see? It looks like a green clip somewhat. So
this is the product of a conversation that I had with Captain Alexander. He was the company commander at the 577 Sapper Company when I was there. He's HHC's commander going forward with them with the 201st. But he was always trying to get 240 Bravo discriminators, and that's what this is. And yes, there's an NSN, and yes, you can order them, but we can make them. And they work.
Yeah.
And that essentially just helps your blanks feed. It keeps them seated to the back of the feed tray as they're cycling through the weapon system. And that just makes sure that you're not having a bunch of malfunctions. So that's just a very simple training aid.
That's 3D printed, right?
3D printed, so we can do metal-like hardness materials. That's just a regular
and you don't know, but it's also a bottle opener. So
past
time. No, I'm joking.
Just keep that in your back pocket. But
in the pocket.
But yeah, so
that's amazing.
Just very simple things like that really can enhance training. You don't have your soldiers out there doing squad lanes, fighting malfunctions with their blanks. Now they're going to run smooth with that one simple thing. We can just give them out by the dozen that we're going to have them.
Right.
Also modifying training. So with the drones, right? We see, on over in Ukraine, Russia right now, we're seeing, dropped munitions quite a bit. So that's exactly what this is. You know, it's an inert training aid, but we can use it with our drones. Shout out to Sergeant Jones for helping us put together a dropper system for one of our drone platforms to actually be able to like drop munitions like in a training event.
Yeah.
It whistles as it falls.
So I mean, yeah, you could be doing squad movements,
yeah,
and you hear that whistle coming. That's wild.
So it goes back to that creative aspect,
Yeah.
though. You know, from those commanders and their intent and trying to get after their Mets, and even just be creative for real world training. If you need something to implement in your training, you know, we've got that resource now that we can try to get something for you to support it.
And that's what we've kind of been told on the innovation part of, you know, they do all these innovation programs, and Fort Campbell was a big one because they had the 3D printing lab or whatever to bring ideas to, and we had talked about it, so to know that there is a possibility that could be done right there at Window H Forward, right? And
in Kentucky at our training site, you know, and training aids are huge. And when you're leaning into modifying or augmenting your training and getting back to resources, I can't give this gentleman enough credit. Is Mr. Frank Peak?
Peak is the man.
He
Peak is the man.
Our guy.
Yeah.
So he's the Booz Allen contractor there at Wendell H. Ford. He's there in the Sim Center beside Lieutenant Wilson. He's the one that's helping these units with a VBS-3. And I think we've all seen what you can do with VBS-3 as far as like gunnery, like getting after some of your table 2, like your simulations, being able to exercise call for fire, being able to do like some convoy operations, driver's training. The VBS is fantastic, and he's the man.
And it's
when
crazy.
It comes to that.
He'll build the wherever you want to drive
wherever you
want to
go,
do a squad movement.
But you've got to talk to him. That's the big thing.
Now I challenge everybody. Call Mr. Peak. He can do it. It's crazy.
You need to communicate. Give him a good, like, please don't block schedule. Don't say, hey, I need all of June.
Hey, Sergeant B said to call you.
Hey, I'm reserving Mr. Peak all of June. Hey, he's a finite resource and one person, and please exercise good communication. Give him a definitive training plan with a very set window, and he will make it happen.
It's awesome
for you.
Yes.
But just touching base on him and like new things that we can do, he has a new training aid or support package there. So he has Insta360 cameras and meta goggles, essentially. And the idea behind that is if you're conducting training, right, take that Insta360 training camera out there, mount it like for FPV view for one of your soldiers.
Right.
It records that. And then he can translate that into a 360 viewpoint for the meta goggles to actually go in. And then if you're trying to train soldiers, this is the right way to do it. They have a first-person view of, you know, I'm going to fall back on my 12B MOS. Combat engineer demo stuff is if you're trying to do a ring main or you're trying to do a specific knot or tying a specific charge, you have a first-person perspective on how it was done. You're watching it in real time. It's great for an AAR resource. So if you're escalating your training and you're doing like a STX or something, have somebody in that formation with those Insta360 cameras, and then just go back through as you're AARing real time. You can be like, who had rear security here? Nobody's looking back here.
It's like a damn football coach.
What is happening? What is happening? But that's a great resource.
No, that's
training
great.
resource that I don't think is out there known about. So again, Mr. Peak, the man. Reach out to him.
He's got a lot, man.
He will help you out so much. So that's another thing I really wanted to hit on as far as a resource that we have available. I think and he covers a large area, like down into Tennessee. It's not just Kentucky. He's covering a massive piece of real estate nationally. But as far as all of those Boone Allen contractors go nationally, I think we have the best one.
He's awesome, man. I'm telling you.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
He really helped us with our platform gunnery and stuff like that. But he's easy to work with. Like you said, just be courteous.
Just gotta talk
give him
to
the time frames and stuff.
He'll make it happen.
I think he brought some of the stuff to our armory at one point.
Yeah.
You know, he went mobile for us on a drill weekend because we were tight on. We all know sometimes you don't get that, you know, just a bus or you can't, you know, vehicles are being worked on. So it was like, hey, I'll come down, you know, set this up for you, and we'll just do it right here. And that's what we did. And he came down, he set it up, and basically had our VBS right there in the armory. So
yeah, that's
great
same thing,
resource, man.
Back when I was a training NCO, we were going through our first, gunnery. We only had 3 platforms, but he came to Ashland, came from Whiffertech to Ashland, set up VBS so we could do our simulations table there at the armory, and that was the first time I really worked with him. Yeah, and it's been great ever since then.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah,
that's cool about the camera. I didn't even know about all that stuff.
Yeah, it's a great resource to have. Play by play. If you're trying to do like a JBCP training, he's got some stuff to kind of support that. Other resources, which is goes back to tabs, but the UGTIs, so those like turret gunnery trainers. I think a lot of people pigeonhole those into just a gunnery training aid, but if you're just doing cruiser weapons, it will not let you proceed through the functionality unless you're doing like a weapons check or a function check, load, unload. You have to do it in the correct way. Right. So if you're doing your PMI, BMI for cruiser weapons,
great resource.
And those can be drawn and taken to the unit. They just got to come grab them, sign for them. We'll give you training on how to use them. But get with Lieutenant Wilson. He'll help you through that process. But that can really help.
Yeah, because you're taking me down memory lane. Like when we first did one of those, I don't think it was Mr. Peak though. Somebody had came over. Poindexter, maybe at the time?
Yeah. So Mr. Poindexter now. Good for him. Mr. Poindexter, or Chief Poindexter. He, he was the task manager for a while.
He helped to set it up, and I was like, "What is this?" And it was for a full day. You went through everything, like you said. If it's step by step, but you could tell who went through it on the range. You know what I mean? That was the thing.
Because they knew how to load and unload that weapon systems. They knew how to do a function check.
And those training aids they're amazing, and they're top notch, and they're available to you. Like I said, they're available to you. So utilize
just get with us. Get in RIFMAS, do that request. Miss Varney, again, like if you're having trouble in RIFMAS, you're trying to schedule something, she is the guru. She's the one that's gonna be able to help you figure out when and where to put your training and get you the resources you need. Again, part of that big effort to be user-friendly and interface units is Miss Varney's really been the one making that happen.
Yeah.
So,
well, let's do this too. We put a lot of resources out there, but so you're a squad leader, right? You're that E6 end date. What's a step-by-step some kind of guide? How can they who should they talk to?
Okay.
At their unit level or whoever, how do they do all these requests? And obviously we'll give them resources after the podcast as well, but if some squad leader or maybe that buck sergeant's out there and he's listening and they're like, hey, I want to try some of this stuff, what would be the proper steps for them to maybe talk to somebody at the unit and get these requests in? Yeah,
absolutely. Exercise chain of command. Like that's like kind of the de facto military thing there. So if you're a squad leader, team leader, and you're listening right now and you're trying to figure out how to get the things that we're talking about, reach out to your training NCO or your readiness NCO at the company level. And then essentially that's going to progress depending on how they integrate with the training site. We do have some companies that talk and have their own established RIFMAS accounts, talk directly with us for scheduling, but they'll reach out to either us directly or their battalion, their operations section, that ops NCO, that training officer, and then they're going to reach out to us and make it happen for them. And that kind of works both ways. If you are a battalion that's kind of managing RIFMAS for your down trace units, please just make sure you're a good custodian of that trust. If they're asking for a resource, please reach out to us so we can give that back and forth. And they'll point you in the right direction as far as, if they're wanting a training aid. Is that something that they need to internally have on their 1687 through a TASC at Knox, Campbell, or us? Or is that something we can provide, and we'll help you through that process? But at the end of the day, you always kind of have that open door policy, right? Yeah. So if soldiers want to get a hold of me, my contact information is in global, reach out to me, and I will loop their leadership into that conversation, and we'll help them get the resources that they need for the training that they're trying to do.
And that goes back to where you said they kind of changed that little bit of culture of the customer service, right? And obviously we don't want anybody bombarding you with just everything, but when they really do have those true questions, I mean, I have full faith that you're going to point them in the right direction and help them. And that's the whole point of training. And we want you to fail. We want you to do certain things because it's better to do it here than in those real combat situations. So just for people to know that those things are available and the resources and most units they know too. So sometimes it's just speaking up. Hey, I have a plan for my squad. Can we try to do this or whatever? And you have 3 great locations to train on.
Oh yeah.
Many resources that you can use for training aids
Imagination's the limit.
And get those plastic soldiers out.
Get those
put them somewhere.
Put them somewhere.
Yeah.
Put them on the board. Wherever you want.
So what's next though? What's next for you before we close out here? You've been there 5 months, right? So
5 months at this point. Really just kind of leaning into preparation. We're getting into AT season, right?
Right. So we get busy.
That April through kind of July, August. That's our big AT season. So I'm kind of slammed. Not only managing our M-Day range operations personnel and making sure we have support for units training to cover the fire desk there. Me helping cover the fire desk there as well. But just kind of leaning into making sure the MPMG range gets off the ground appropriately, looking at things at Disney and Hidden Valley, making sure the projects we have going on there are going smoothly, making sure our equipment's good to go so that we can support units. I've been kind of the de facto SME for like our 3D printing stuff there at Range Operations. So kind of getting spun up on that and making that happen. But those are the big things that I have going on right now.
Yeah, it's that time of year. I think everybody's going to be busy.
Yeah, but, very busy. Very busy.
Like I said, Sergeant Smith, we thank you for coming in. I know there's plenty more to talk about.
I could yap all day.
Maybe we should make this one a 4-hour podcast. We'll do like 8 segments. That's what we'll do.
All right, I'll come down.
But no, we appreciate your time coming in, giving us all this information. And what we'll usually do is, just so everybody out there knows, we usually try to get a little bit of information that they can see. We'll probably post a little bit just on requesting and stuff that's available. But yeah, I mean, these soldiers, they just need to know. I mean, it's a LISCO training environment, and they need to be training for that. So you have it right here in Kentucky.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
We have anything you can ask for. And if we don't have it, we'll get it.
We'll get it. There you go. So there you go. You heard it from the man yourself. So, but before we go, I want to give you.
Oh gosh.
This is getting harder to get up under this. I don't set it up right. We want to give you the G3 podcast. You put your pre-workout coffee, whatever you drink. Sergeant Smith has a sticker in there. You can put on the.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, on your squad vehicle there. But yeah,
appreciate it.
But no, for real. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity. The training side appreciates the opportunity to come and talk about what we have to offer. So
yeah, well, great. So everybody out there, I hope you take all this into consideration for your training events coming up, and utilize your tools that you have out there. So with that, enjoy life, be healthy, stay lethal. G3 podcast out.
Thank you for joining us on the Kentucky National Guard G3 podcast, where we bring you the voices and stories behind the mission. Stay connected, stay ready, and we'll see you on the next episode.
I could have talked for hours.
I could have too. Thank you for having me.
No, man, this is great.